America, how we doing today? Oh yeah, come out and look at this, what I got. That's what I woke up to this morning. Yep, that's pretty. Nice little lake out here. I can't remember the name of it. I'll put the name of the lake down here in the bottom of the screen. I'm just north of Yuma, and right over there, this water is actually the Colorado River. I think it gets diverted upstream and comes into this little lake, and they use it for irrigation down there in Yuma. For people that don't know, Yuma is very agricultural, lots of different vegetables and stuff, lettuce and things like that. But as I was driving from Yuma up here last night, yesterday afternoon, there was plants out there. I had no idea what they were. So, and it looked like they were getting ready to harvest some of them. So maybe I can get a little video of that. I don't know. But today we're gonna go into Yuma, and we're just gonna drive around and see what Yuma's about. I don't know. I don't know hardly anything about Yuma other than what I just told you, because all I ever did was come across leaving San Diego, coming across Interstate 8, and you just drove through town. I might stop and get fuel at the truck stop or something. Other than that, I don't know hardly anything about Yuma, just what I see from the interstate. So I didn't even know this lake was here. Actually, yesterday I was down in town doing laundry, and a guy was sitting there. He said he saw the van with the Texas tags on it. We got to talking. He's from Texas. He's out here camping, and he's just up right around over here somewhere camping, and he was telling me about this place. So I thought I'd come up here. I'm glad I did. So yeah, we got all kinds. We got a little lagoon out here. There's open water out there. There was a pelican out there this morning, and then down in this little lagoon here, you got a bunch of little ducks. I don't know what they call them. I think they're a coot, or something like that. I don't know. I don't know my birds very well, but I think I saw a couple mallards in there, and yeah, just pretty. The wind's picked up. Time to move on. So let's go into town. Let's go see what we can find. Okay. How'd you like to have that thing lying on your head? Yeah, this is a 16-inch shell. This is the kind of shell that would be like on a battleship. 16-inch guns. Yeah, I'm 6 foot tall, so look, it's about a 5 foot long shell. That's a beast. All right, so where are we at? We are at Yuma Proving Grounds. Used to be Camp Laguna. Right over there, you see some buildings and everything. That is the old. That's the what is now the Yuma Proving Grounds. It started out back in World War II as a training facility for troops. There was Camp Laguna, and there was I don't know, about 8 of them. I was looking at the sign over here, and there was like 8 different training facilities out here for World War II. And then after the war was over, they kind of got rid of most of them, but Camp Laguna they turned into a test facility, and it was Yuma test facility, and then they changed the name to Yuma Proving Grounds. And so what they got some howitzers and APC over there. They got a rocket missile, a rocket launcher, some kind of anti-aircraft thing over here. This is an anti-aircraft, self-propelled anti-aircraft machine. I don't know what that is. I don't know that kind of stuff. There's a missile over there, another missile over there. I'll look over here a little bit, but what I'm interested in is this. As you all know, as most of you know, I was in M1 tanks when I was in the Army in early 80s. I was in M1s, M1A1. These are the predecessors of what before the M1. Now there's one over here. I'm going to walk over to this one here. This is the one I trained on when I was in basic training. It's an M60. Okay. Now we have different ones. We've got a Sheridan. This is Korean War, Vietnam War era. That's a Sherman tank. That would have been World War II era. Okay, there's a APC, a 113. That's a troop carrier. I was around those and those in basic training, and after I got out of basic training, they sent me to Fort Hood and they switched me over to M1s. But anyway, I want to show you some things there. And what they did, this is an M60 main battle tank. Now I think this is an M60A1. It doesn't say. But it's a 105 millimeter main gun. And so for people that have never been around a tank, real close around a tank, I'm going to get over here. That's 105 millimeter right there. Okay, but I want to show you the tracks. It seemed like that's all we did in the Army was brake track, and the M1 track is very similar to this. And if you look right here, there's bolts right here in each one of those. You pull that bolt out and then this thing will pop off. Not easily though. Remember, it was a pain in the butt changing track. But we'd pop that off and pop that one off on the center, on the outside, and then take this bolt off in the center here. So 1, 2, 3 bolts. You pop that off and pop this out, and that would break the track. And you could, take the track off and repair it when you're driving out in the desert or just anywhere, and there's a lot of stress on these tracks, and they'll break, and that's how you repair them, is putting all these bolts and stuff back in. We carry spare pieces like this section. We'd have like 3 or 4 piece sections up on the side of the hull. We'd store them up here like back in this rack and stuff, and that's how we would repair track. And we trained on that incessantly, because if you can't move, you're a sitting duck, But anyway, this is an M1 or an M60A1, I believe, and the one I trained on in basic training was an M60A3. Let me turn you back up a little bit there. Yeah, it was an M60A3, which is this hull and this turret, but internally had all the modern sighting systems and the heat sensing targeting systems and stuff like that. So it had all the brains of the M1 on the inside, but the old technology of the M60 hull. So anyway, I trained on these. This was neat. The steering mechanism on the inside. Here's where the driver's sat, right down in here. And Right here's a little periscope looking thing that flips up, and it's like a little periscope mirrors, and it would let the driver close the hatch, and you could see through those little periscopes and see where you're going. And to get up on one of these tanks, we're not looking, it doesn't say, it says don't crawl on these, says don't climb on the vehicles. I'm not going to climb on the vehicle, but the way you would get up on, see this little tow hook right here, you'd put your foot right there and you'd hold on to that and you'd swing yourself up. Okay, that's how you mount one of these things. And you'd crawl up and go inside the turret. The driver's hatch was open, you could just crawl in there. Otherwise you had to go through the turret, rotate the turret backwards so the thing's lined up so you could get into the driver's cell. So anyway, that's an M60. That's what I trained on. They don't have an M1 here for some reason. I don't know. I mean, they're still using them, I guess. Let me shorten this back up. But there's a tank over here. I don't remember the number on it, but it has a very similar hull to an M60, but it's bigger. It's a much bigger turret, much bigger shell and everything. You know, the hull has the same track on it and everything, but it's got a 120 millimeter main gun. And I think that's what Yuma was known for, was testing things. They take this tank and put a bigger turret and a bigger gun and all this kind of stuff and test it out and see if it works before they made 100 or thousands of them or whatever, you know. They test it out and see if it works. So some of these are testing things, like here's a tank recovery, basically a tank tow truck, and they would, you know, they'd bring it out and test it and see how it works in the summer heat. You know, it's 110 degrees, 115 degrees out here, and they're testing to make sure it doesn't overheat and things like that. Here's another one over here. This is off of an M60 design. This is an M60 hull. If you look at the hull, and that hull is the same, painted different color and everything, but it's the same track, same gearing, same wheels, but the turret looks a little different. Okay, if you look at that turret versus that turret, okay, what's the main difference? It's got a little short stubby gun on it. It's more like a I can't remember what they called it. It was more of a mortar kind of thing than a main gun. But this big boom here would pivot right here, and it would flip open like this, and now you have a tow truck. Okay, and you've got a blade up there. I'll explain that in a second. But on the back here, they would use the boom to tow a tank out of a ditch or something like that, or broke down somewhere, to tow it up where they could hook onto it, and then use a regular pinnacle hook. And on the front of the tank, remember I stepped up, you know, that foot step that I stepped up on the M60, that's where you'd hook a drawbar, and this becomes a tow truck with a drawbar on the other broke down tank. So, but anyway, just see if you can see the cupola up here. There's the hull, the turret, and then up there is the commander's cupola. It looks exactly like the M60 cupola. So they changed the hull the turret just a little bit. They put a different gun on it. They put this big boom on it, and then they put this bulldozer blade on the front. And it becomes, instead of a tank, it becomes a tank recovery. Okay, you're out in the battle zone and your tank gets shot up or broke down or engine goes bad or something. They bring this out and tow it back and work on it, fix it, and get it back into the fight. Why would they put a blade on the front of this? Well, a couple reasons. One reason is when they're out there pulling somebody, a tank is over here in a ditch or something, and they can put this blade down, and it becomes a something to push against. They put that blade down in the dirt, therefore the tank won't slide. And they can put more pressure to pull it out of the ground, or pull it out of the ditch or whatever. The other thing is, let me find some sand over here. Let me explain this. All right, this is all stuff from 40 years ago that I learned when I was in the military. But a tank, if you are getting ready for a tank, if you're getting ready for a battle, turn toward me, you're getting ready for a battle, and you know that the enemy's going to be coming from down this valley, and they're going to come up this valley. What you do is you pull your tank up here over this viewpoint, but you don't want it just sitting there to be shot at. Okay, so what you want to do is you want to dig a hole, a foxhole. You dig a foxhole for a tank. So you dig this hole out and you put this big berm of dirt right in front of it. Okay, all right. So you take that blade on the front of that recovery tank, You come out here and blade that up and build a berm, and then the tank can pull up behind it. So only thing is looking over the top is the turret. It's like you're peeking your head over a log or something. You're in your foxhole and you're peeking out of it, right? So when you get ready to fire, here comes this the enemy tanks coming up this valley here. This tank can come up, pull up and fire, and then back down in its hole, its foxhole. All right, so that's what they would use that blade for. You think, what in the world would a tank need a blade for? Well, that's why. One, as a chalk, so when they're pulling, they can dig the blade in so that tank won't slide, and they can pull a lot harder with the winch. But also to build defensive positions when you have when you're the defender and you're defending an area and the enemy tanks are coming at you. You can build these little foxhole hold down positions. Like, they got a name for them. I cannot remember what that. I think they called it a berm or something like that. I can't remember. But anyway, it's been so many years ago. But they're not snow plowing snow with that. Okay. So, but yeah, it's interesting out here. Some of the ideas they came up with. You know, that thing, I've never heard of that thing, and I don't remember what it is. Let's go over and look at it. But they probably didn't make any. They probably made a handful of them, brought them out here and tested, and realized the gun was too big, or because that gun is big, the ammunition is big. Now you can't store as much ammunition, so they got to weigh off the pros and cons of this. Now I'm going to come around here and I'm going to tell you what the name of this thing is, and people are going to go, oh yeah, I know all about that. Well, I've never heard of this one. It's an M103 combat tank with a 120 millimeter gun. Yeah, it doesn't talk about any service or anything. You go up to the Sherman and it talks about, let me go up and show you the Sherman. Okay, now that, like I said, has never been in combat, that I would imagine, never really got used. And I would imagine most of these tanks never really got used in combat. Here's an M47. This is Korean War. This is an M47. They had M46, 47, and 48, all right, close series. Very similar, but they had, each one of them had a little tweaking and testing. And the M48 was the more popular one. But they all had something different about them. But I'm going to take you over here to this Sherman and show you this thing. And this booger has been in war. This thing was over in World War II, probably in Germany or Italy or something. But bullet holes. You're talking about bullet holes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29. Some scratches there. 29 just on one side. Oh, not even counting the third. 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36. I think you're getting the idea. There's probably 50 bullet holes on one side alone, not counting down here. There's some, okay? But and see, here's the track. The track is very similar. It's a smaller track because it's a lighter tank. And Sherman tank is much lighter than the M60. But you take these bolts out, and let's go up top here. You take this bolt out here, you take that bolt out there. There's not a center piece, okay? But you pop that cap off, you pop that cap, and that would break the track. So, but it had a 75 millimeter gun, whereas the M60 had a 105. There's a Sheridan over here that it was an airdrop. The M48 had a 90 millimeter gun, I think. I can't remember for sure, but I like these. I like tanks. I think, you know, because I was in them. I was in tanks, and I get this is nostalgia for me. I get to kind of relive. This one doesn't have near as many holes on the side here. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, about 20 versus 40 on the other side. So, but this has definitely been in a battle, and they're talking about it right here, how they ground the pieces off, you know, where a bullet hit, there's a sharp edge, they ground that off so it wouldn't, you know, people wouldn't cut themselves. So cool beans, dude, cool beans. Anyway, let's go see what else we can find. This must be a stealth tank. It says it's a 107 self-propelled howitzer, but it's all faded out and everything, and it's not here. So I walked up. I mean, I was expecting the sign to say stealth tank. Pretty cool place. It's like these museums like this out in the open and everything. There's another museum similar to this up in Shirako Summit and in California. It's right before you go down the hill into Indio, California. It's the old Patton's Museum. That's where Patton did all his testing with 2nd Armored Division, and that's where I was in 2nd Armored Division. Now I know I'm going to get a lot of stuff in the comments, you know, hey Stan, thank you for your service and all this kind of stuff, and always makes me feel funny, so don't do that, please. I was in peacetime. I was in 80. I fought the Cold War, you know. I was with Reagan during early 80s, okay, and never had a shot fired at me. I was never in a war zone. I cleaned toilets and I've swept the motor pool. That's pretty much all I did. So here is, I'm walking around nowadays and somebody finds out that I was in the Army. Oh, thank you for your service. I feel weird when people do that, because there's guys that were out in wars and, I mean, went through hell, and you know all the stories of war is hell and everything, and it just, I don't know, I don't feel like I deserve, or I don't know how to phrase it, but I just feel like, no, you give that honor to those guys that went and fought in wars, okay? Me, I just, you know, I like I said, I cleaned the motor pool for 3 years. That's all I did. But it was fun while I was in the Army. I enjoyed the Army. It was like Boy Scouts on steroids. I enjoyed it and everything, but I am very happy and very fortunate that I didn't actually have to go into a battle zone. So no soldier loves battle. You know, whenever they're talking on the news, and you know, these soldiers, they're all you know, they're warmongers and whatever. No, because the soldier, though, sees on the news that war is going to break out somewhere, he knows he's the one that's going to go out there and fight. This person sitting back in America, they're sitting on their duff watching the news and all opinionated about it. Soldiers don't want to go to war because they might be the one that dies.